It's been a year since I lost her. It happened last Halloween. It was the last time I saw Corinne, my best friend. We were 5 inseparable senior year college friends who had met in a boring psychology class during freshman year. There was me, Drea, the introspective dreamer with an affinity for all things mystical; Erica, the sharp-witted, fiercely independent redhead; Lily, the bookish introvert who had a knack for digging up ancient tales; Lee, the artistic soul who saw beauty in all; and Corinne, the radiant star who seemed to effortlessly shine brighter than anyone else.
And everyone was attracted to her. Men, women, babies, even animals. Corinne was captivating and absolutely breathtaking. Sometimes I wondered what she was doing with a best friend like me, short, a little pudgy with light brown mousy hair that I could never get to act right. But there we were, the best friends that ever were. Really, our whole group was tight. Our friendship had blossomed amidst the rigors of college life, and we were a close-knit, ragtag bunch. But as graduation loomed, our bonds began to slowly unravel, gradually fizzling out under the weight of impending adulthood and the unthinkable tragedy that had struck us last Halloween. That Halloween night, our group had been invited to a wild party at a popular fraternity house, all thanks to a dreamy guy who had taken quite a liking to Corinne. The night was a whirlwind of music, laughter, and flowing drinks. Corinne, as always, was the life of the party, her charismatic allure drawing everyone in like moths to a flame. But after that night, our friendships fractured. The loss had cast a long, dark shadow over our carefree existence. Then graduation had arrived, and the sadness and the weight of the real world loomed before us, forcing us to forge on towards our futures, leaving our once close-knit and tainted existence buried in the past. As the 1-year anniversary of Corinne's death approached, I began to see her. Corinne had returned. I would catch glimpses of her smile, her laughter, and her long, raven hair. At first, it felt comforting, as if she were still here, watching over me. In the beginning, Corinne's ghost was sweet and nostalgic. She would visit me in my apartment, wanting to hug, lay up all night in bed talking about boys, and braid each other's hair, just like we used to. Her visits brought me solace and warmth. I missed her so damn much. But gradually, the sweetness gave way to something darker. Corinne's ghost became angry, accusing. She would whisper chilling accusations and resentful secrets in my ear. Her eyes, once warm and friendly, burning with anger. And as Halloween drew near once more, I was plagued by the unshakable feeling that Corinne's death held more secrets that I needed to uncover. The chilling details of that fateful night began to resurface, and I found myself piecing together a horrifying puzzle. Corinne's ghost kept whispering haunting truths to me. You see, Corinne had died of poisoning. They found the remnants of the lethal substance in the cups that she had been drinking from that night. The dreamy frat boy, who had been so infatuated with her, was charged with her death. He had supplied Corinne the drinks that haunting night. That so-called wonderful guy had betrayed her trust shattered by someone she had considered a friend. He was pretty drunk that night and denied any involvement, weeping hysterically, bitterly, for hours, but he was still locked up, and rightly so. But something was amiss. Corinne was letting me know, and I was afraid to go deeper. The truth was, I was jealous of my best friend. Corinne was so beautiful, so damn beautiful, like a Japanese Barbie doll with flirty green eyes and a soft nature. A Barbie I didn't want to just play with, but be. She effortlessly attracted boys, excelled in her classes, and had teachers fawning over her. I had hidden my envy under layers of friendship, but beneath the surface, it had festered, gnawing at me. That Halloween night, I had poisoned Corinne. I snuck the poison into the drinks, but in my guilt and psychosis, diagnosed as schizophrenic at 13 years old, I had blocked the truth out of my mind, creating the delusion of Corinne's ghost to torment myself further, allowing myself to fully believe that Corinne's crush had been the one to end her young, beautiful life instead of me. My mind was playing tricks on me. Tricks. Nobody at school knew about my mental illness. I had started a new life, running from an abusive, depressive past. I had stopped taking my meds over a year ago, imagining that I was fine, And now the real horror wasn't the ghost of my best friend haunting me. It was the realization that I was going mad, that I had committed a monstrous act, yet someone else was being punished for it. As Halloween arrived once more, I stood on the precipice of madness. The line between reality and hallucination blurred beyond recognition. Corinne's ghost was not real. It was a manifestation of my tortured psyche, a projection of my guilt and remorse. But I could never tell, and I never will. Halloween night hung in the air, thick with the scent of autumn leaves and the distant echoes of children's laughter. 16-year-old Emma and her friends, dressed in a motley assortment of costumes, roamed the streets for candy. Their laughter echoed through the night, drowning out the rustling of leaves. As the night grew darker, they came upon an ancient house. The porch light flickered ominously, casting scary silhouettes on the cracked wood. It was the home of Old Man Burns, a figure of local legend known for his disfigured face and his solitary existence. Old Man Burns was a recluse, a mystery that had haunted the town for years. His disfigured face, the result of a fire that had consumed him as a teenager on Halloween night decades ago, had earned him a notorious reputation. He rarely ventured outside, except for on Halloween, when he stood on his porch, smiling eerily as he attempted to hand out candy to children. With trepidation, Emma approached the porch. Her friends hesitated, deciding not to get his candy. No one ever had, but Emma decided to be bold and go for it that year. Emma stepped up the creaky steps of the porch and stood in front of the lanky, tall frame. Old Man Burns's one eye twinkled as he handed her a strangely wax-wrapped candy. Emma looked up curiously at a gleeful Old Man Burns. He gave her a knowing look and simply said, "Enjoy," his voice breathless and raspy. Emma smiled a faint fake smile and bounded down the steps onto the nearby sidewalk, where her friends were waiting for her. No one could believe that Emma had taken the candy from Old Man Burns. Emma shrugged off the judgment, feeling secretly weird, yet excited inside. The feeling confused her, but she pushed on. The friends continued to trick-or-treat, having fun the rest of the night, until it grew darker, and it was eventually time for everyone to go home. Once inside the house, Emma quickly shot past her parents and headed straight upstairs to her room. Emma's curiosity burned, and she decided to try the strange treat. She carefully unwrapped the candy. It had a faint, otherworldly glow, a meat-like texture to it with a funky smell. As she bit into it, the taste was like nothing she had ever experienced before. Her eyes widened in shock and disgust as she realized what she was chewing. It was human flesh. She gagged and immediately vomited the mess onto her bedroom floor, horrified by the realization. The night passed with fitful sleep, haunted by disturbing dreams of eating that grotesque candy. When Emma awoke the next morning, she was overcome by an insatiable craving, a raw hunger for that dreadful taste. She tried to resist, to shake off the horrifying memory, but the gnawing sensation in her belly pushed her towards the unthinkable. Emma decided to return to Old Man Burns' house. Her heart pounded with fear as she approached his porch once more. This time, he welcomed her with a now pompous, knowing smile and invited her inside. The old house was musty and decrepit, yet there was something strangely alluring and magical about it. He led her to the back of the house, into a dimly lit kitchen. There, on a tarnished silver platter, lay the infamous flesh candy, her treat. Emma hesitated, her heart heavy with dread, but her hunger won. She took the candy, and Old Man Burns whispered, "Next time, you must do something for me to earn this delicacy."
Emma hurried back home, her secret intact, and devoured the foul candy alone in her room. To her surprise and shame, she felt invigorated after consuming it. The days passed as she vowed to stay away, and she tried. She really tried. But the hunger for the forbidden treat gripped at her insides, consuming her every thought. Finally, Emma could resist no longer. She returned to Old Man Burns's decaying abode, her steps heavy with guilt and desperation. He greeted her with that same smile and made her an offer she could not refuse, a dark pact forged in the shadows. To continue to get her treats and keep her newfound hunger for flesh at bay, she had to agree to live in Old Man Burns' home forever, never seeing her friends or family again. Emma didn't know what had exactly happened to her, or what it was about that flesh that took her soul the way it did, but it had. She agreed with sadness and greed, leaving her old life behind to sit in the tarnished house with the old man. She had to be satisfied, and this was the only way. Thus Emma's descent into darkness continued. She was trapped, bound to Old Man Burns, her existence forever entangled with he who had become the keeper of her twisted desires. Halloween, once her favorite holiday, had become a nightmare from which she could never awaken. It is said that every Halloween that followed that fateful year, that the tall, lanky old man continued to stand on his porch, hoping for takers to hand out his mysterious and awful treats to, could also be seen a still, silent, shadowy frame of a girl standing close behind him.
It was a moonless night, and the wind whispered ominous tales as we stood before the looming facade of Willowbrook Manor. Megan, with her eyes gleaming with adventure, clutched my hand tightly. Beside us stood our friends, Sarah and Mark, their faces painted with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The old mansion held a dark reputation. Stories of horrific acts, sinister apparitions, and unspeakable tragedies were woven into its history. Still, we were young, fearless, and intoxicated by the thrill of the unknown. We had driven 3 hours from home, determined to spend the night within those haunted walls. We hesitated briefly at the doorstep, but the allure of the unknown pulled us inside. The wooden door creaked open, revealing a foyer shrouded in shadows. A gust of cold air greeted us, sending a shiver down my spine. Sarah and Mark exchanged glances, unease flickering in their eyes, but our collective resolve pushed us forward. It was dark, the air heavy with the musty scent of neglect. Broken furniture and faded wallpaper greeted us as we ventured further into the dimly lit interior. We knew we were taking a risk, but our excitement outweighed our fear. As we ventured deeper, the house seemed to exhale the weight of years gone by. Distant echoes reverberated, as if the very walls held secrets of a forgotten past. It was both captivating and chilling, a dance between the thrill of exploration and the edge of something darker. Night descended swiftly, the house cloaked in an eerie silence. Tales of shadowy figures and ghostly whispers haunted our thoughts, but we pressed on. Sarah and Mark explored one wing while Megan and I wandered further into the heart of the mansion. In a dimly lit chamber, Megan's eyes widened as she discovered an ornate mirror. Its surface held a distorted reflection, as if time itself had played tricks on the glass. She reached out, fingers trembling, but before her hand could make contact, a cold gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles. A voice, distant and haunting, seemed to seep from the very walls. Megan turned to me, her face a mask of fear. "Cristiano, did you hear that?" I nodded, a chill running down my spine. "We need to find the others now." But as we retraced our steps, the corridors seemed to twist and elongate, our voices swallowed by the oppressive silence. Panic began to claw at my chest. I glanced at Megan, and her eyes held a mix of terror and determination. Suddenly, a presence descended upon us, a force beyond our comprehension. Megan's body convulsed, her voice distorted by an otherworldly howl. I watched in horror as her eyes turned vacant and her movements grew erratic. She was possessed. My heart pounded with fear as I watched my beloved Megan in the throes of possession. Her eyes, once warm and familiar, now held an eerie, malevolent glint. It was as if another presence had taken over her, a force that sought to consume her very soul. Sarah and Mark tried to intervene, but the supernatural energy in the room repelled them, sending them sprawling backward. Desperation surged through me, and in that moment, I made a choice born out of love so profound it eclipsed my fear. Time seemed to stand still, suspended in a nightmare. I held Megan, her struggles growing more desperate, and I knew I had to act. With trembling words, I whispered a plea, offering my own life in exchange for hers. "Take me instead. Leave her be," I said, my voice quivering with emotion. The air seemed to ripple with energy, a silent scream echoing through the chamber. The room pulsed with a blinding light, And then, as swiftly as it had come, the presence was gone. Megan slumped into my arms, her breath ragged, but her eyes were hers once more. We stumbled out of the mansion, shaken but alive. The night sky greeted us, stars twinkling in silent witness to the horrors we had faced. Sarah and Mark rushed to our side, their faces etched with concern. As we drove away from Willowbrook Manor, I held Megan close, a newfound appreciation for the power of love coursing through me. We had danced on the precipice of something beyond our understanding, and emerged changed. The old mansion, with its dark history, stood silent in the rearview mirror, a sentinel of the past. It was a night we would never forget, a night that had tested our bonds and revealed the depths of our love. And though the scars of that haunted night would remain, they were reminders that sometimes, in the face of unimaginable darkness, love could be the beacon that guides us back to the light.